This is the screen that you'll see when you start gCADPlus for the very first time. Let's experiment with gCADPlus by selecting File and New, and you're presented with a list of templates. I'd quite like you to select the funky template and OK it, and that puts us into our very first drawing. Every landscape CAD drawing is done full size. Let's look at this drawing now and see and measure how far it is from one side to the other. I'm going to select the distance tool. The prompt at the intersection of my crosshairs says first point, so I can measure from one side of the site to the other. You can see it's about 80 metres in size. If I click, I get a yellow line indicating the distance. You're not restricted by size when you're using gCADPlus. If I pick the wheel of my mouse and I roll it back towards me, I'm zooming out. And if I now use that measure or distance tool again and measure from one side of the space to the other, you can see I can easily reach 200 feet. So gCADPlus can cope with whatever size design you want. While we're on the subject of size, select with the left button of the mouse now the vertical line that sits there. If you look over in the window or box on the left, you may be able to see that the distance, the length of that line is shown. Its angle is also shown. So clearly in a CAD drawing, 0 is to the right, 90 degrees is up, 180 would be to the left, and so on, just like a protractor. So you can get lots of information about your design just by clicking on individual entities and using the distance tool that we've used several times. Let's now rub out part of the drawing. Let's pick the line as we did before and right click, the right mouse button, right click on it, and we're presented with a series of options. I'll select Erase, and the selected entity, the line's called an entity. Text is also an entity. Here's a piece of text. I can select it, right-click, and erase it. Similarly, I can put a box. By clicking and dragging, I can pick two text entities at one time and erase them. So practice at this early stage, selecting and erasing and zooming in. To see the whole drawing, and there is a little point down here. I'll click on it now. That's a point entity. To see the whole design of the whole drawing, right-click without anything being selected and select Zoom Extents, and we see our whole design. Some of the operations then were perhaps a little difficult for you to see. So what I'm going to do is change my drawing background, view, background colour, and I'll change it to white. And I think you may be able to see things a little easier. I'll pick that line again. It changes colour to magenta. I'll right click and erase it. I'll put a box around the three pieces of text that are here. One piece of text is larger in height than the other, but maybe if we select it, and you see its height is 1.5, I'll unselect it and pick the second smaller piece of text, and its height is 0.7. So one is roughly twice the size of the other. I'll wrap our box around it and erase, zoom out, use my distance tool just again to measure from one side to the other, and we get 150 feet as we are sitting at the moment. That little dot on the bottom left of screen, when I select it, tells me in the properties box that it's a point. And that leads me to draw your attention to the Draw drop-down menu, where there are options to draw lines, raise, construction lines, a lot of terms that you may not understand at this stage, but a point is a single entity, just a dot, and I'll put some more dots near that existing one. And we finished the earlier bit by saying if we want to see the whole design, that'll take us so just outside that group of dots or points, and up to outside this deciduous tree, we right click and pick Zoom Extents. Now we're looking at the whole design. I'll turn View and Background Color back to black, and the reason for that is if you do any extensive drafting, it's a lot kinder on your eyes to use that dark background.